Cybersecurity is a universally hot topic. Every week, news stories about a data breach or ransomware attack pop up. Cyber insurance has become a must-have for every business, along with tougher regulations that are being discussed or passed at every level of government. Around every corner, there seem to be too many problems and too many possible solutions to count. So what is the business owner to do? The best place to start building your cybersecurity defenses is at the endpoint. All of those workstations and servers running complex operating systems and applications. All of this complicated software can be manipulated by bad actors, from installing malware or ransomware to simply forcing an application to perform in ways that are malicious or even dangerous to your whole network. So, how do you make sure that your operating systems and applications behave properly and don't allow viruses or ransomware? The answer starts with zero trust. The core principle of zero trust is just what it sounds like. Don't trust anything implicitly, whether it's an internal or external thing. In the case of your endpoints, that means you can't trust anything the operating systems or applications are doing by default. You need a way to determine how all of the software needs to work together, only allow the approved actions to happen, and constantly monitor everything. Needless to say, that would be horrendously difficult for a human to do because millions of operations in the applications happen every day. However, zero trust for your software is very easy for our Endpoint Zero Trust solution. Let's start with the basics. Application control, also known as allow listing. Application control is straightforward. Our Endpoint Zero Trust solution learns your environment to determine what software is running and then will only allow the software you approve to run based on groups or even a single computer. For instance, it would make little sense for accounting staff to access network administration tools like PowerShell, while IT administrators probably don't need to access a QuickBooks database, and it would never make any sense for any endpoint to automatically install software you don't know anything about. Application control takes care of that for you, including constantly monitoring and auditing the software on your endpoint. This accounts even for software updates. In short, the Endpoint Zero Trust solution is set to deny by default and only allow software you have approved where you approve for it to run. But how do we make certain that applications aren't misbehaving and performing actions that might be dangerous? Well, that's where ring fencing comes in. Ring fencing is a process which does application containment. Essentially, this puts guardrails around what an application can do and with what other applications it can interact. For example, a common cyber attack is to run a very powerful network tool called PowerShell in unexpected ways. Microsoft Word has no reason to interact with PowerShell. So the ring fence would allow Word to work with OneDrive to store or retrieve your files, but would not allow it to talk to PowerShell. This is a hacking technique called living off the land, where hackers try to use trusted applications and tools to carry out malicious instructions. Ring fencing prevents this. But what if we need to run an application for a short time, or perhaps a legacy application needs controls to be less restrictive? Enter elevation control. Elevation control works in two different ways. Temporarily allowing an unapproved application to run or be installed, or temporarily allowing an application to work with more permissions. It may be that you do not permit accountants to run a program, but there is a need to temporarily install that and use that application. Elevation control allows the end user to request permission for the new program, including their reasons and the use case. The IT administrators can then review the application and grant permissions as appropriate, including temporary permissions to install it, but then reducing those permissions to normal level after the time expires. Another use case is for legacy applications that require elevated permissions just to operate. Elevation control can be built into a policy to allow this application the permission it requires while running without the need to give the end user additional rights or permissions to the endpoint. Wow, sounds like a lot, doesn't it? Well, it is and it isn't. The Endpoint Zero Trust solution makes all of this possible and fairly painless. However, you may have a few additional questions. For instance, I have an antivirus already. Do I really need this? Well, an antivirus program is the bare minimum you need, but an antivirus program simply does not account for how your applications and operating systems change and interact. Endpoint Zero Trust is there as a safeguard before and after your antivirus program. What do I need to do if we need to change an application program? Endpoint Zero Trust has built-in policies on hundreds of commercial applications to get the ball rolling while keeping your endpoint secure. There may be a short learning period while you get the new application on board, but rest assured that your endpoints will be kept secure. What if there are already unapproved programs running in my environment? Well, that one's easy. We build a quick policy to prevent it from running. Job done. Does Endpoint Zero Trust help me meet insurance or regulatory requirements? In fact, it does. Most cyber insurance companies require some type of application control, as do the security frameworks referenced by regulations. For example, Endpoint Zero Trust satisfies CIS controls 2, 8.2, 10.5, and 13.10. In other words, Endpoint Zero Trust is a serious up armor in your cybersecurity defenses.